And this regular council meeting for November 19th, 2024 will return to order at 4:14 p.m. We are on section 7 now, action items, and item 7.1, appointment to West Yellowhead Regional Library Board. We're just going to give CL Panasic a moment to count up those votes. CL Panasic. Oh, give that a second.
Through the mayor to members of council, recommending that council appoints Hendrik Smith to the Yellowhead Regional Library Board as a trustee for the town of Hinton for a one-year term from November 2024 through October 2025.
Thank you, CAO Panasic. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move with the recommended option that council appoints Hendrik Smith to the Yellowhead Regional Library Board as a trustee for the town of Hinton for the one-year term from November 2024 through to October 2025. And if I can just speak to it real quickly.
Go right ahead.
I want to first of all thank Mr. Schmidt for putting his name forward. He's been was a long time member of the library board. He served out his terms, but he still wants to be active in the library community and put his name forward. And I want to thank him for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council appoints Hendrik Smith to the Yellowhead Regional Library Board as a trustee for the town of Hinton for a one-year term from November 2024 through October 2025. Is there any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 7.1 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 7.2, 2024 Bursary Awards. CAO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. We are recommending that council announce the recipients of the Trans Mountain Pipeline LP bursary for the 2024 intake year as Oliver Bell, Lauren Cote, Daniel Howarth, Logan Laflemme, and Landon Legary.
Thank you, CAO Panasic. Council? Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to make a motion that council announce the recipients of the Trans Mountain Pipeline for the 2024 intake year as Oliver Bell, Lauren Cote, Daniel Howarth, Logan Laflamme, and Landon Legary.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Council, the motion on the floor is the council announce the recipients of the Trans Mountain Pipeline LP bursary for the 2024 intake year as Oliver Bell, Lauren Cote, Daniel Hawarth, Logan Laflamme, and Landon Legary. Councillor Haas.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the those that applied and really appreciate that. The only question I have, so that we're well aware moving forward, but with these recipients, we then have two more possibly application opportunities for this bursary administration?
Ms. Bourbeau?
To all of council, the policy is currently written as one intake per year between now ending in 2028 or when the funds are fully expended. There is opportunity if council wishes to have an additional intake period. We can certainly adjust the policy for that, but as it stands now, annually on by September 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bourbeau. Council, is there any further discussion for the motion that's on the floor right now? Then we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 7.2 on the agenda? Councillor Taylor.
Again, I'd like to thank Trans Mountain Pipelines for giving us the money to have this program and for the other projects that they've given us money for. It shows that they're supporting the community. I think we should recognize them for that. Thanks again.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, is there anything further for item 7.2 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 7.3. Council Remuneration Committee recommendations. CAO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. I will turn this over to Ms. Borbo.
Ms. Borbo.
Thank you, Council. The item before you tonight follows the presentation made by the Remuneration Committee members on November 12th at the Committee of the Whole meeting. We have brought this forward as they recommended and look for any further changes that Council wishes to make prior to bringing it for full adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Borbo. Council. Councillor Haas.
Yeah. First off, I want to thank the committee for all their work. I found their report very informative during the committee of the whole. It seemed like they had really done a lot of their homework. And I honestly think that a lot of the things that they came up with, especially around the professional development, will solve a lot of I think ongoing issues that we've had with that, with whether it's FCM and how many people attend and the cost of it. And then also the yearly professional development, having it all in $12,000 for a span of 4 years, I think is a reasonable and then can be used whether it's FCM or other things. So, and then as to everything else that they've talked about, I think is a reasonable looking at other comparators. And so with that, I'd like to move that we go with the recommended option that council accepts the changes to the council remuneration policy number 1103 as identified in the CRRC report presented to committee on November 12th, 2024. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council accepts the changes to the council remuneration policy number 1103 as identified in the CRRC report presented to committee on November 12th, 2024. Is there any discussion? Councillor Haas.
Yeah, I just want to, I think, add to, I mean, it's not a big increase, but they were also very mindful of doing it in increments over the span of a person's term when it comes to the honorarium. So I think there was a lot of consideration as well that the committee, I felt, took into account in their discussions. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, once again, the motion on the floor is the council accepts the changes to the council remuneration policy number 1103 as identified in the CRRC report presented to committee on November 12th, 2024. Is there any further discussion from council? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Is there anything further from council for item 7.3 on the agenda this evening? Councillor Taylor.
When do these come into play? Do we follow the existing ones till the new council and then these come into play? Or do these all these terms and conditions come into play right away? Just wondering about that.
Ms. Borbo.
Chair to all of council. So these go into effect after the election in 2025.
Till then, we're following the existing rules.
That's correct. So there's no budget changes this year because of this. They will be factored into 2025 forward.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Borbo. Councillor Taylor, follow up?
Not a follow-up. It would be something completely new.
Can we go to Councillor Haas and put yourself back in queue, please? Thank you. Councillor Haas.
Yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to mention is I really appreciate administration bringing this to us almost a year ahead. In the past, we were kind of scrambling, doing it right before an election, and it made it a little more difficult, especially, so I just really appreciate that part of it as well, in that following that process and bringing it so early. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Taylor, if you...
Councillor Remuneration Committee is not always the funnest job around, but I think they've done a reasonable job. And I was hoping that we could send a letter from the mayor thanking them for the work that they did so that we could encourage volunteers in the future. Just my thought.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. CAO Panasic, will you need a motion from council for us to send a thank you letter to the Remuneration Committee for their great volunteer work?
Through the mayor, that's okay. I have it noted and we'll make sure that we follow up and thank them.
Thank you very much, CEO Panasic. Thank you for that consideration, Councillor Taylor. Anything further?
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, seeing nothing further for item 7.3 on the agenda, we will move on to item 7.4, public notification bylaw number 2002. This looks like it's going back to Ms. Bourbeau.
Thank you, Chair, and through to all of council. This item was also before you at the last committee of the whole meeting. There was some conversation regarding a potential typo between 3.11 and 3.12. And I have confirmed it is not an or. It would be still advertised on both the official website for the town and our social media channels. So no or is required. It will always be on both.
Thank you, Ms. Bourbeau. Councillor Taylor.
In the event that one of the two of them, for whatever reason, maybe the paper didn't get published that week or something like that didn't occur, the fact that it occurred on social media would still make it a sufficient notification, correct? Because "and" doesn't imply that, or implies that. So
Ms. Bourbeau.
that was the point. So now it has to be both. We made it tighter. That's what you just said.
Through to all of council. So 3.11 is electronically posting on the Town of Hinton official website. And by electronically posting notifications on any of the official social media channels. So neither of those are the print media. So we will always have the print media. If electronics are down, we would revert to the print media. If there's no print media, then we do both the electronic mediums, one being our website and one being our official social media channel.
Okay. I probably misunderstood. I thought the "and" or applied to print and social media, but it doesn't. It just applies to 2 different forms of social media.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bourbeau. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Council, and I will remind you that there's currently no motion on the floor. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that council give first reading to public notification bylaw number 2002 as presented, and that council direct administration to set a public hearing date for public notification bylaw number 2002 for December 17th, 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is that council give first reading to public notification bylaw number 2002 as presented, and that council direct administration to set a public hearing date for public notification bylaw number 2002 for December 17th, 2024. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Council, is there anything further for item 7.4 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move to section 8, information items, and 8.1, budget 2025, public engagement. CEO Panasic, anything to add to this item?
Through the mayor, no, I believe it's here for your information. If there's any other questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, CAO Panasic. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you for the information that was obtained through the public engagement, though all us councillors know we get countless other emails talking about different aspects that are related to the budget on various topics. I don't want to list off what those topics are, but when we get that kind of correspondence, can we make sure that that correspondence gets put in the information package for the meetings coming up? So the public is aware of the information that councillors are getting that potentially may or may not influence the decisions they make. Today or yesterday or last few days, we've gotten numerous emails in those regards, and those are all public information.
CEO Panasic.
Sorry, through the mayor, I may be a misunderstanding, but are we just talking about emails that are sent to council or to
emails that are sent to council that it may influence a council decision related to the budget. We've received a number of those.
Okay.
And I think it's appropriate that they show up in the information package, the next information package that we have, because then the public can see the decisions, the stuff that we're getting that may or may not influence a decision. It's public information unless it's received in a closed session.
Okay. So the request is that all of the emails received by council related to budget budget related items that they be put in a package and presented to council.
No, that they, as they come in that week, they just show up as the information items and correspondence that we received the following week,
Oh, I see.
so that the public can be aware of the people that are sending us information. So that it's not secret.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you, CO Panasic. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Ostashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in regards to that, is that a motion? Is that a direction request? If it is, speak to it. If not, I'll just leave it. And I will expect that that doesn't happen unless that's a direction request.
Thank you, Councillor Ostashik. Councillor Taylor, would you like to respond to Councillor Ostashik?
I'll make a direction. That correspondence that's given to us by email, that's given to us that may affect that relates to a budget or a budget decision that we make at, show up as the in the information package the following week, so that the public is aware of it. Unless, of course, it's received in camera.
I can hear our secretary typing away furiously, so we'll just wait to get that up on the screen to make sure we all understand the wording of the motion on the floor here.
Through the mayor to members of council, if I could.
Go right ahead, CO
Just a
Panasic.
piece of clarification. So this motion is intended to be in perpetuity, right? Anything related to finances or service level discussions or really any correspondence sent to council will go into the information package. The expectation being that a member of council sends that to administration because they don't always come to administration. But this is to occur in perpetuity of pretty much any email related to that may affect or have financial implications as this move forward? Or is this only emails related to the budget process and this year's budget process?
That's what
Councillor Taylor.
that was my intent.
Okay, Councillor Taylor.
Not to change it long term, but
So if we're looking for that direction request, we've got the council direct administration to include emails from the public regarding the 2025 budget process be put in the council information package on the agenda during I actually think that during the budget process is, yeah, redundant and can be removed altogether, Secretary. I think that, yeah, that works actually. So Councillor Taylor, this is a wording we have, that council direct administration to include emails from the public regarding the 2025 budget be put on the council information package on the agenda during budget deliberations. Does that meet the intent of where you're trying to go, or do you want to change that wording?
oh, that's fine.
Okay.
And just to speak to it just a little bit more. This information affects other people in the community that may want to respond to it, because some of the communication that we get is of varying degrees of accuracy, and it's public information. So if it is inaccurate and other people, and it affects somebody else in the community, they should be seeing what we're getting and have at least the ability to respond to it.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Race. Okay, thank you, Councillor Race. We'll put you back in queue. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you through the mayor. I don't know that I can support this. Um, to me, I believe that there's a certain reason why we would get a specific email from someone, and I don't know that I just, and maybe I'm missing a step or part of the process, but would this be like a redacted document where it's not showing their name and not showing, like, to just be putting the emails? We want to encourage people to be writing to council. We don't want them to not be writing to council for fear of what is going in a package or, you know, their opinions or different things out there. Maybe I don't understand the process because I'm new to the budget game, but I think what is the process so people are aware that if they're sending us an email that this is something that's going to be going into an information package, would it just be in like a closed session package, or is this open session right through communication? I'm not just asking anybody, because as it stands right now, I just feel like I don't know how we can go ahead as it sits unless I'm totally missing something.
Thank you, Counselor Chambers. We'll give Counselor Taylor an opportunity to answer.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It's probably better that their name not be public. But if they're giving us information that has varying degrees of accuracy, and that information is just coming to us, and that information may influence a decision that we make, and somebody can respond to that information with the correct information if they knew what we got, then that's the intent of what I'm getting at. And any information that we do get, even if it has the name, sure, redacted, but any information that we do get by email is a public document anyways. It's not confidential. You send an email to all of council, it's not a confidential document.
Follow up.
Can I go ahead, Counselor Chambers?
But a document that is not confidential and a document that's placed into a public meeting package are very different, in my opinion. So if somebody wanted to call that up, you know, FOIP it or whatever they wanted to do, that's one situation, but having it be placed, I just think what protections there for people that don't want that information out there, that just want to share some things with us. I just don't know if I can support it as it's worded. But that's all I'll say for now till the rest.
Thank you, Counselor Chambers. Counselor Ostashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm not sure I can support it either. I have some concerns that are along the lines of other concerns that have already been brought forward. We want to encourage people to be comfortable in providing feedback to council, and I think this might have the opposite effect if a person were to know that the concerns and opinions that they're putting to council in regards to budget discussions are going to be made into a public document. They may not want to put it forward, even if their names and identifying information are redacted. They still might not want that information out there for public consumption and public debate. And I do have a question though, actually, regarding the privacy of emails. It's not my knowledge, and I could be wrong though, that emails to council are public documents.
CEO Panasic.
Through the mayor to members of council. I think like Councillor Chambers had mentioned, you know, public and you know, I would say accessible are two different things. So if somebody did FOIP those emails, they would be able to obtain access to those emails. There is a freedom of information legislation that would give them access to it, but I guess the difference is, you know, there may be an assumption of some degree of privacy with sending the emails that it wouldn't be immediately made public. So if they were FOIPed, I don't see any grounds on which we would be able to say no, any member of the public can't receive those, but they would have to go through that FOIP process typically.
If I could follow up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, agreed. Public document and FOIPable document are different things to me. And just arbitrarily deciding that if somebody expresses their thoughts about budget, it automatically becomes a public and not more than public broadcast document is a little bit concerning. And like I said, I want to make sure people are comfortable in sharing their opinions and not concerned that they're going to get criticized or called on the carpet for expressing their opinion during budget. Aside from that, I may be missing something, but I'm missing what the practical benefit of this this action being taken would be. So if somebody has an explanation of what the practical benefit would be, I'm not seeing it. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor Ostashik. Counselor Hawes.
Yeah, I think with this conversation is making me uncomfortable, you know, with the privacy and all those things. I think it's actually because not all of council, I believe, gets all the emails. Sometimes residents give it to one counselor or two counselors, and they don't always do all of council. But it is our responsibility, and I know for myself, I've had questions asked of me, and I bring it to a meeting. I had a question of from a citizen in the community, and I ask that question or share those thoughts without any, and I think without sharing any information about where it came from. And I think that's the responsibility as a counselor, you know, to do it that way as opposed to putting in a public document. I don't feel comfortable with that for all the reasons that have been stated. We can still bring those questions to a meeting, you know, but it's because we've brought it forward and we're curious about it as well. So I can't support this as the way it is just for all those reasons. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Hawes. Council, the motion on the floor is that council direct administration to include emails from the public regarding the 2025 budget be put on council information package on the agenda during the budget deliberations. Counselor Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I could change that to include redacting the personal information, but I don't think it's going to make a change in how people are going to vote, so I won't waste your time to do that. But the situation I see that this helping with is if a group of people are lobbying for a certain project and you're using incorrect information, then there may be another group of people who are interested in that information, in correcting that information and providing more accurate information. And that's in part the situation I think that we're facing. And that's what I was getting at with this.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Taylor. Council, the motion on the floor is that council direct administration to include emails from the public regarding the 2025 budget to be put on council information package on the agenda during budget deliberations. Is there any further discussion from council? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councilors, please vote now. And that motion is defeated 4-2 with Councilors Taylor and Race voting in favor. Councilor Hawes.
Saw that, did you? I'd like to move that we accept information items as presented, please.
Thank you, Councilor Hawes. Council, the motion on the floor is that the council accept the information package for information. Any further? Oh, Councilor Race.
No, I did have a comment on the previous conversation or a new conversation.
We'll put you back in queue then. Any conversation on the motion on the floor that council accepts the budget 2025 public engagement, what we heard report for information? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councilors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Councilor Race, if you'll put yourself in the queue, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir, very much. To administration, do you have an actual head count or a bit of a count? How many citizens did attend the 3 sessions?
CO Panasic or Miss Bourbeau?
Sorry, through to all of council. I know that we were taking attendance the first evening when we were here at the government center, and it ran till 7 o'clock. I believe there was 3 individuals. There might have been a couple more than that during the afternoon. We didn't have anyone that I'm aware of come for the Wednesday when we were here, but we did have some pretty good engagement when we were at the rec center going there. We had a number of individuals that stopped and chatted with us and asked a lot of questions.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bourbeau. Thank you, Councilor Race. Council, is there anything further for item 8.1 on the agenda this evening? Seeing nothing, we'll move on to section 9, correspondence, and we're going to take these two correspondence items separately. We go to 9.1, request for reversal of tax penalty. And CO Panasic, anything to add to this report?
Thank you, Mayor. So what we've done for common practice is we have included a little bit of a more formalized report, but this is, council has the option to approve all of these together. But council also has the option when these kinds of requests come forward to actually make a motion on the specific one. So it's up to council on how you would like to approve it. We could approve each of them separately, or if council just wants to approve them as a package, we can do that as well.
Thank you for that. Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that council accept the request for reversal of tax penalty item for information.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Would you like to speak to it? Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Council, the motion on the floor is that council accept this report for information, specifically the request for reversal of tax penalty report for information. Is there any discussion from council? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. Does council have anything further for item 9.1? Seeing nothing, we'll move to item 9.2, Q2 Hinton RCMP report. CO Panasic, anything to add to this one?
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to add. I did talk to the Staff Sergeant Fragameni, and she will be organizing and having a more public open house to talk about both this and anything else that the community may want to answer. I don't have a date on that process yet, but I know the RCMP would like to see counselors and members of the public out to that process.
Thank you, CO Panasic. Council, any questions or a motion to accept for information the item 9.2? Councillor Chambers.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept item 9.2, the Q2 Hinton RCMP quarterly report for information.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Council, the motion on the floor is that council accept the RCMP quarterly report for information. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. That motion is carried unanimously. That will take us to section 10 of the agenda this evening. Notices of motion. CO Panasic, any notices of motion this evening?
There are none.
Thank you, CO Panasic. We'll move on to section 11, reporting, and 11.1, council reports. We'll start to my left, Councillor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. So the library board, we are looking at creating our level of service document for 2025. It's a 5-year document. We're up to renew it. So we had our first meeting the last week and met with as a group and got started on that. And we'll have a couple more meetings and hopefully wrap things up early in the new year. As for one other matter is tomorrow is the Historical Society's AGM. So anyone interested to come down to the museum, check that out. It starts at, check the website. I can't remember. I think it's at 5. Yeah, 5. It's 5 to 6 scheduled the AGM. And then afterwards is the regular meeting. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. And generally at those AGMs, Margaret puts on a pretty good snack.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Chambers.
I will also be attending the AGM for the museum tomorrow, but otherwise I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Councillor Chambers. Councillor Race.
Thank you, sir. I have a little bit to report. Last week, I attended with you and people from FCSS, the annual convention in the city, had an opportunity to speak with numerous municipalities to hear how they're structured, to hear their what their programs are, what their concerns are. Just a ton of sessions that we were able to attend. And one of the sessions that I did attend was anxiety among children. Another session was the need for collaboration in sharing information and how FOIP comes into this when we are sharing information. Another session that I attended was on housing and homelessness. In talking to one of the municipalities, they're working with a lot of seniors, and they're saying that seniors nowadays are suffering from loneliness, depression. There's addiction now they're seeing with seniors, and that addiction is gambling, it's alcoholism, it's when you get seniors who are separated from their families, who don't have those visitors, you can see where they do become very lonely, and depression is a big one. It should be noted at that conference, they really talked a lot about how they're lining themselves up with Alberta municipalities in getting to the provincial government and asking for more money. So it's not downloaded onto the individual municipalities. Like, they are as concerned as we are about what we are having to spend. And to me, the biggest takeaway I had from the 3 days that I was there is the importance of sharing information so that we all know what everybody is doing in this community, so that we're not running around looking for stuff. And I have to say that the interagency meetings that FCSS facilitates every month, they get the people there who share that information. And it's just a really good day. And that's it, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Race. Councillor Taylor.
Waste Authority meeting, general update, we received 5,000 metric tons of disaster waste from Jasper. More or most is expected. Most of it should be here by the spring. Even if you took away the Jasper waste, apparently the volumes are higher at the Waste Authority than normal, even without considering the Jasper waste. And that might have to do with the weather, might have to do with the economic conditions. Fees, most of the fees stay the same except for mixed waste, which goes up from $75 to $200 a metric ton. Not bad when you consider the rate of inflation. That's from 2021 to date. And the cost to recycle fluorescent tubes is now down to $1 from $3.75. It used to cost, you used to be able to buy fluorescent tubes at the store cheaper than you could recycle them at the dump. So they fixed that anomaly. And the budget, the approved interim budgets for 3.2 million for revenues and expenses, and the capital budget is down to 564,000, with the big item being, as I mentioned before, the leachate pond expansion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And for myself reporting, yes, last week I did attend the FCSS AA conference with Councillor Race. I thought it was a very well put on conference and very informative. I was able to attend the FCSS 101 session, which again, very informative on not only our program, but some of the ways that the FCSS programs are structured in other parts of the province. I also attended a very interesting session on FCSS and ESS, that was fascinating. And I can say that if we had structured our system the way some communities sound like they've got it, we would have had some struggles these last couple of summers. So I think our administration has been doing very good work in setting ourselves up for success. One thing I did want to bring to the attention of council is the province has recently announced a granting program for municipally owned medical clinics. The details of the granting program are light from the reading that I've been able to read, but our administration is on it, and they are working for the grant application specifically for that. So let's hope that that gives us a little bit of funding to take the burden off of the town taxpayers as this moves forward. Later this week, Councillor Race and myself are going to the strategic planning session for Community Futures, and that's going to be an interesting report from us, I'm sure, next week, next Tuesday. And that's all I have this week. CO Panasic.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report.
Thank you, CO Panasic. Councillor Taylor, you got a question about the grant, I'm guessing?
No, I'm just wondering, this conference that you two attended, is there anything you see us doing differently in the town as a result of this conference? Any new practices you brought back to Hinton that maybe we would bring and we could do things a little bit differently.
Counselor Race?
You know, as soon as you asked that question, I thought about that counselor or that FCSS worker in Jasper. They applied for a grant that it's a 2-year grant that enabled them to get a person who specifically works with seniors and vulnerable seniors who you know are lonely, who are suffering from depression, who they're earmarking them. So that's where I would like, and our FCSS was not aware of that grant. So if communication like that could take place, hey? So they're doing something that's really successful in Jasper with these wonderful older people, and that's something that we could bring to our community. So, yeah.
Thank you, Counselor Race. And for myself, one of the biggest takeaways that I got from the FCSS conference was the level of service policy that our council has implemented for FCSS. It sounds to me like it is a very valuable piece of the program that not every community has done yet. And from talking to communities that have a level of service policy and don't have a level of service policy, I'm very grateful that we've done that work and we have guidance for our FCSS, because that's not the case everywhere. And it does seem like these decisions are more difficult for some communities because of the lack of that upfront work. Additionally, we've had a lot of conversations about FCSS, and through this conference, it's just reiterated even further that these are catch-all programs that are meant to fill in the gaps in our communities. And a lot of the communities in the rest of the province have different gaps than we have. They're closer to services that we are not close to, or they have struggles and issues that we just don't have because of our geographic location. And so every program that I talk to seems to be a little bit different, a little bit piecemeal and very reactionary. But this group in particular, I think, is going to be certainly our friends in terms of advocating for increasing funding from the provincial government. This is a group that sees the downloading and is vocal about opposing it, which I think is absolutely to the benefit of municipalities in general. Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Haas.
Yeah, I just, I don't want to get into this, but I do want to, Councillor Race was mentioning about seniors. Hinton has the program. Randy Smith was our previous person that filled that, and that position has been filled. I can't remember Rachel, or I can't remember her name, but we have that. I understand you're talking about a grant and stuff, but as for the senior population, the FCSS in the town of Hinton does have a program that helps with the individuals that are more isolated, depressed and stuff like that. We have the also, I think there's the welcoming, or not the welcoming, it's the visitor program. So we do have quite a bit of that. I know Jasper, they have costs, and that they must be adding to additional services. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Race, did you have some comments on the seniors
Yeah,
piece?
I just want to comment to Councillor Hawes. I know that we are working with seniors and we do a really good job with seniors, but I know Tori was a very active listener when that FCSS person, when we were speaking, and it didn't appear that she was aware of that grant. So, just any time that we can have a conversation and we can learn from each other, and yeah. So just please know, I'm not saying we don't have anything for our seniors and we're not taking care of them, because I know we are. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Race. Councillor Taylor.
No, I think Councillor Race brought up an important point, and that's that if there's a grant that could fund something that we're already doing, then that's fantastic. And the fact that we have people that are taking notes and are going to check into this could be an opportunity for us to get back some of our money on that program. So thank you for letting us know about it. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. CAO Panasic for reporting. Anything to add?
I already did. Nothing to report.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's move on to section 12 of the agenda. Councillor Haas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Council, the motion on the floor is a motion to adjourn. And as soon as that comes up, we'll call the question. Councillors, please vote now. And that motion is carried unanimously. We are adjourned for the regular council meeting for November 19th, 2024. A reminder to anyone watching, council will be moving into the committee room for a committee of the whole to discuss